Has anything changed when it comes to buying a house in 2024? Maybe, maybe not. I'm about to break down some of the things that have changed, not bad, and some of the things that haven't, because I think it's good if you're a first-time buyer or if you're thinking about moving to California and Bakersfield more specifically, what you need to know going forward. So let's talk about that in this video because I wanna make sure I'm giving you the best and the most accurate information for spring 2024 buying a house. Hey there, welcome back. I am Angel, your local Bakersfield Realtor. You have reached the Living in Bakersfield channel. If moving to Bakersfield, moving to California is on your radar, a call, a text, an email will get a hold of me or my team, and we can start that process for you, especially if you're thinking about buying in 2024. There's been a lot of brouhaha in the news, a lot of clickbait, a lot of stuff, and I just want to make sure that we're being clear so that you know what has changed and what hasn't in buying a house and buying a house here in Bakersfield, California. So thanks for being here. Let's get to all of the information. So let's start with what has not changed. So some of the things that have not changed when we work together, I will still absolutely be making sure that you are qualified locally. Now, I know you hear a lot of realtors talk about that, like, oh, gotta get qualified locally. And here's why. The way I like to break it down is when we want you to get qualified locally, I want you to think of either an ocean liner, like a cruise ship, or a tugboat. And here's why. When you jump online and you go to Rocket Mortgage or you go to wellsfargo.com or one of the big dogs, I like to call them. So when you go to one of those sites and you say, I'm 32 and I make $75,000 a year, and you fill out their little form, they are an ocean liner. They are the cruise ship. They put you into their box, right? You have to fit into their box. And so they have 30 and 45-day escrows. You will have to call the 800 number, and you might get somebody relatively locally, but we're basically not really sure who we're gonna deal with every time we call, and they have their processes, which are lovely and wonderful when you are one of those big ocean liners. So these guys are like a tugboat, where if we need to have somebody that can think outside the box, kind of bob and weave, we need to close in 21 days. If they need to make sure that, title and your loan are set up differently, sometimes the big dogs can't do that. The brokers and the local lenders that we work with really think outside the box. So that has not changed. We still need you to get qualified to buy a house, obviously, and we're always gonna lean, or I'm always gonna lean toward getting you qualified locally so that when I need to make a phone call or shoot a text, they're people that I've worked with. I know, like, and trust them. I'm probably gonna see them when I'm out and about around town. I know their methodology. I know that there are things that I can just ask them randomly without having to call an 800 number and sit on hold. And if it's Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock, who am I gonna get? You see the difference? So that has not changed. We still need you to get qualified and to get qualified locally if I have any say in it. The second thing that has not changed, and I don't even know if I've ever shared this on my YouTube channel before, but one of the things that I like to do for my buyers after we've gotten under contract and whatnot is I like to make sure that you guys have a home warranty, not your homeowner's insurance. I like to make sure that you, my buyer, has a home warranty because that kind of gives you a little bit of a safety net for your first 13 months in the house. Another reason I like you to have a home warranty is because everybody lives differently. So if I'm selling your house, one of the things that I do along that same line of everybody lives differently is I bring in my housekeepers so that when you are selling your house, all you have to do is pack and move. You do not have to pack, move, and clean. Gets a buyer a clean slate. They're not moving in going, how do these people live? Who taught them how to clean? Blah, blah, blah. We're not dealing with any of that. Same thing when I represent you on your purchase here in town. I make sure that you have a home warranty. I don't do the housekeepers, but I make sure you have a home warranty because everybody lives differently. Case in point, let me tell you a little story. So I was working with a couple and they were moving here and we're looking at all these houses and a lot of them had dishwashers, and she would say, Angel, I'm a Latina. We don't use that. I have to turn in my card if I use that dishwasher. So you might not be a Latina. You might really want to use your dishwasher every day. Maybe you've got a bunch of kids. Maybe that's your jam. However, everybody lives differently, right? So all that to say that you don't know what the other person did before you in that house, how they use the air conditioner, how they use the dishwasher, what did they do with their water heater, all of those things. So the home warranty gives you a little bit of a, oh gosh, maybe the previous homeowners were boomers and they didn't even use the dishwasher as more than a strainer, which is very common for boomers. They don't want to use the energy because they're generally on a fixed income. No big deal. But you are somebody that uses the dishwasher every day. So obviously the dishwasher didn't get used very much when they lived there, and now it's going to get the crap used out of it, right? So it might not work 5 minutes after you move in. You might be having a leak, or it might need something that it didn't need by the previous owner. So the home warranty is going to help you get through that first 13 months so that you're not having to figure out like, okay, now I've just fixed the pool pump, now I gotta fix the dishwasher. The home warranty, you make a little $85 call, they come out, they fix whatever it is, and you move on and you live your life in your new house. That is a gift that I give to you. That has not changed. Another thing that has not changed is the amount of homes on the market and the amount of offers that are being brought on those homes. Generally speaking, different price points bring different things, but generally speaking, multiple offer situations are pretty common. So what does that mean for me and you? That means nothing's changed. I'm gonna negotiate and tweak your offer and tighten up that offer so much that we get you into a house that you love here in town. Whether you want something on a cul-de-sac, whether you want something with a pool, whether you want something that is move-in ready. I don't want a pool, I don't want an HOA, I don't need any of that. I just want to move in and paint a wall or two and live my life. So that is one of the other things that has not changed. I will be working for you. I'm still going to be negotiating really, really hard for you to get your offer accepted. And then once we get your offer accepted, what else hasn't changed is that I'm going to walk with you all the way through the transaction. I'm going to make sure that you have everything sorted. If there's solar on the home, you have to go through the process to get qualified with the solar company. I'm going to be talking to your local lender to make sure that your loan is going forward. You've turned in all your paperwork, you've sent in your earnest money, all of those things. I'm going to be setting up your home inspection. I'm going to be setting up your termite inspection. I'm going to be making sure your appraisal is ordered. And if you want me there, I can be there when the appraiser is there. I've done that a few times as well. I am working for you when we go through the process to buy you a house. That is my job. Do not let the internet trolls tell you that I am overpaid, I'm just an email sender, I don't know what I'm talking about. I mean, I can show you some comments and I can show you some information that just, it's kind of gross. It really is just kind of gross. Like there's no other profession that people feel very open to criticize, want to know how much we make, and just spew filth all over. It's really disgusting how many trolls come out when they want to start talking about us realtors.
Wait a minute. Who are you?
And I get it. There's a bunch of people out there that are yahoos that, want to, talk about it, how it's all for them. But I can tell you, I have this channel to let you know that I'm working for you. I have this channel to show you the community that I want you to move to. I have this channel to educate you start to finish on buying a house, selling a house, moving here. What are you gonna do? The chances are pretty high. I would not go through all this to have a channel if I were kind of a D-bag. Forgive my language there, but there are some D-bags out there, and I'm not here to talk badly about those in my industry, but some of the D-bags get a lot of attention.
Ow!
And that's just the way of the world anyway. It's usually that squeaky wheel. They're usually like the loudest and the most obnoxious, and you're like, can you just let us all do our job and go away? Anyway, there are D-bags in my industry. I'm not here to tell you otherwise, but there are a lot of us that are not. I'm not a D-bag, I promise. Okay, hit the brakes. Now let's talk about what has changed in 2024 when it comes to buying a house. And there's a couple of things that I need you to understand. You don't have to learn it. You don't have to memorize it and put it on your arm in a tattoo. That's my job, to understand it and memorize it. I'm just giving you the heads up on like, yeah, some things have changed. So What has changed as far as what I'm doing for you is that I am no longer allowed, according to the National Association of Realtors, which then pushes it down to the California Association of Realtors, which then pushes it down to my local county board of realtors here in Bakersfield, then to my brokerage, and then to me. You see how that all trickle down? The new way of doing business is that I cannot show you a single house on the internet that you and I find that fits all your parameters in your price point with every last bell and whistle until you and I sign a buyer representation and compensation agreement. I know, a lot of words, right? But I'm going to show you what exactly this is, just so that you know. There's no secrets, and that's why this is now one of the things that's changed. So if you've been paying attention, like I said, in your feed, in mine, all over, clickbait world and on the 5 o'clock news, National Association of Realtors got sued. It's this big thing. It's all about transparency. They want to make sure that we realtors are disclosing everything. Well, me representing you on a purchase, my commission that I would be paid by a seller wasn't ever really hidden, but it wasn't front and center like it's about to be. So not that you're gonna know what I'm making chapter and verse, but pretty close. Okay, so this document is called a Buyer Representation and Broker Compensation Agreement. It's 13 pages. When we purchase a house, the actual contract itself is 16 pages. California has no shortage of paper that they want us to fill out. This is what it looks like. Straight up, I'm giving you everything right here. This is no secret. So it's a disclosure regarding a real estate agency relationship. Seller's agent, buyer's agent, agent representing both buyer and seller. The short version of these 2 pages is that I can represent a house as the listing agent, 123 Banana Street. I can sell that for my sellers. And I can represent you if you want to buy 123 Banana Street as the buyers. That is not illegal. That is allowed in the state of California. Also, somebody from my brokerage could be selling 123 Banana Street, and I could be from the same brokerage, Coldwell Banker, and represent you on the buy side of that purchase of 123 Banana Street. Nothing is illegal. Everything is disclosed out in the open. So seller's agent, this is my diligent exercise of reasonable care and performance of agent duties. That is if I am listing the house, as well as when I am a buyer. Diligent exercise of reasonable skill and care and performance of the agent duties. The exact same thing. Agent representing both seller and buyer. This is, again, not illegal. It's something that we do very, very often here in the state of California. Some states, I know they don't even allow it. You are either representing a buyer or you representing a seller. And I actually venture to say that in the state of California, they might be changing that in years to come. I don't think it's happening now, praise the Lord, but I do think that this is something that's going to probably come to California eventually. So an agent representing both the buyer and the seller and buyer responsibilities. So what that means is if I'm selling 123 Main Street and I'm helping you buy 123 Main Street, the tightrope is mine to walk. There are things that I can no longer talk to you about the sellers, and there's things I can no longer disclose to the sellers because I'm representing you on the buyer. Generally speaking, when we're agent to agent, if I'm working with another colleague of mine, we can kind of say like, okay, so what does the seller need? And what is the buyer's timeline? Like we can kind of negotiate on behalf of our clients. That's what we do for y'all. So in the state of California, I can do that, but generally speaking, that is part of this buyer broker. It's 2 pages because it's the state of California and they take a lot of words to say something very simple. Fair housing and discrimination advisory. This is also part of that buyer broker, but this is talking about since 1969, we have been under the umbrella of fair housing. You cannot pick a house or not pick a house based on who they sleep with, what color they are, how they worship, what they worship, what language they speak, if they served in the military, if they didn't serve in the military. This is fair housing and discrimination is what governs the real estate industry. So this document is also 2 pages. Who is required to comply with fair housing laws? Sellers, real estate, mobile home parks, insurance companies, yada, 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 yada. Everybody, right? Basically, everybody involved in a real estate transaction. This is what is our governing body. So we have to make sure that we do not violate fair housing at any point in the transaction. You will sign it. The seller will sign it. I sign everything anyway, being a representative of you. This is also another situation that I can do as a buyer agent when I'm representing you on a buy. I can represent you and I can represent another person that might be watching this video on the same house at 123 Main Street. Not illegal, not hidden. not uncommon, but generally speaking, what this document is saying is that I can represent you and maybe your neighbor to buy the same house that I could also be selling. You see how that works? Not a crime, not illegal, something that you as a buyer need to know. Full transparency. It's all about transparency. Dual agency is what that's called. Also, when say I'm representing you and I'm representing your neighbor, and then my brokerage, one of my colleagues, is selling the house. Same thing. Everybody needs to know. It's all out in the open. Nothing is hidden. This actually has not changed. This is just now part of this buyer compensation document. Wire fraud, we will talk about wire fraud being a huge element within the real estate industry. You're going to be transferring hundreds of thousands of dollars potentially from your institutions or from your investments over to escrow, and then they will move that to your loan. That is ripe with fraud. So those phone calls and those emails of like, oh, your escrow number has changed and your blah, blah, blah is now going to be going to XYZ institution. That should not happen. And if you and I are in a transaction and that does happen, Mayday, you get a hold of me and I say, we might have a fraud situation on our hands. Back to the point, wire fraud is very, very, very common in this real estate industry. So it's something that we protect. That's a lot of money to lose and to just float into the stratosphere. So we're never going to be like, no, it's fine. You have to sign that you know the risk.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
So we have to sign this front and center first thing before we can go look at house number one. So the way this works is number one, representation period and right to represent. So that is you as the buyer. We're going to put your name in here, buyer one. And then I am going to be the broker. That is going to be my Coldwell banker. I can't type. Let me try that again. Coldwell banker, preferred realtors, right? And then this is going to talk about the day that we started and how many days we're going to work together. So say you just want to see, we have 1 day to work together. That is it. We can get into this contract for 1 day. Kind of a lot of work for 1 day, but if that's what you want to do, we can do it. The location will be determined. I will probably go big because Kern County is giant. Sometimes we start looking at houses in Bakersfield and we end up in a house in Delano, still in Kern County. Sometimes we start in Tehachapi and we actually end up in a house here in Bakersfield. So Kern County has a lot of other cities. You might need to move to Taft or whatever. So I will make it big. I will say Kern County as the entire area or the greater Bakersfield, Kern County area, so that it covers all of the area that I can show you houses in. I wouldn't want to get into a scenario with you where you're like, Angel, I want to go look at this house in Visalia. And I'm like, so we would have to do one for Visalia too, if you wanted to move up to the Tulare County area. So this is going to cover Bakersfield and the entire Kern County area. And then I leave it also, I leave your price range out, because what if we get a house that's just right outside of your price range? Who would want that? And then this is where it talks about my compensation. So if we come down here to compensation to broker, so broker meaning me and my brokerage Coldwell banker. So if we listen to the trolls on the internet would tell you that I, representing you on the purchase, would get a big old fat check with $15,000 and I would just be going, yeah, it's all my money. Hope you like the house. That is not the way it works. I have made $15,000 in commission. However, a brokerage gets some. The tax man gets some. My assistants get some. I have to pay the fees for being able to get into the MLS and to the lock boxes. I have to pay fees to them. I have to pay a part to my brokerage again for just using a Coldwell banker name to be an agent out in the state of California. I have to hold my license somewhere, and then I get my bottom number. Okay. So it looks super sexy when you see, oh, gee, she's making $15,000. Yeah. Take out about 45% of that. And then I might still, and then divide it over the number of days that I work for you. People think we are just like, sleeping in dollar bill blankets, but that is not the case. We are working very, very hard for the money we earn, just like you are, just like your neighbor is, just like your parents did. There's nothing wrong with working hard and being paid well for what you do. my job is not done until you have keys in your house. That means job well done to me. You have a house that you love, can't wait to move into, and I then get that paycheck. I am the last one on the list because the brokerages get paid by escrow, and then there's a lot of people that have their hands in this pot. So the trolls will tell you otherwise, but don't listen to them. I promise I'm speaking the truth. If you are here for the first time, do not forget to like and subscribe so that YouTube knows you're here. I know you're here. You're watching the content that I'm putting on this channel because I absolutely want to help you move to Bakersfield, live in this community, call it home. If you want to leave me a comment, please do. I like the friendly ones best. Also, if you are a first-time homebuyer and you're watching this, in the description below is a first-time homebuyer guide, 7 mistakes you don't want to make. It's absolutely free to you. You go to the link, you give me your email, and boom, you've got it in your inbox. And it's great information, whether you and I work together or whether you send this video to cousin Susie and she and I work together. Still good information for all y'all to have. That's free to you. It's in the description below. Go ahead and go get it. So I'm not sure if this is it's changed or it hasn't changed because it's Jerome Powell and he changes things all the time. He's kind of like the Wizard of Oz. You know, he's always like, everybody's like, what's he gonna say? What's he gonna do? It's like the Wizard of Oz. Anyway, he has said that he is not going to do anything with the rates through the summer. So lucky us or unlucky us, I don't know. But for those of you that are like waiting for a market crash, or there's going to be a flood of foreclosures, or the market's got to balance itself out, we can't keep up this pace, you name it, I've heard it all. And so far, none of it has happened.
If you're thinking about buying a house and the only thing you're waiting on is you're waiting on the real estate prices to come down or the interest rates to come down, don't wait. Go buy a house right now if you're ready. Because the prices aren't going to come down, and if the interest rates come down, you can just refinance.
I've been an agent since 2017, and none of it has happened. So for those of you that are waiting for rates to drop, he's already said they're not gonna. So please feel free to reach out to me. For those of you that are waiting for, I don't know what, feel free to reach out to me anyway, because the market is still very, very hot. You do not wait to buy real estate. You buy real estate and wait. And Jerome Powell has just given you the green light that you need to go ahead and buy it. If you want my opinion, and I don't know if you do or not, but I don't think Jerome Powell is going to do much until right around the Labor Day period of time. So between Labor Day to the end of the year, we've got an election, which is hotly invested, one side or the other and everybody in between. And Q3 and Q4 are where big companies like to make a lot of money. Big companies being the big three, BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard. And they are investors and they kind of nudge Jerome on what they'd like him to do. So Jerome is probably not going to do much until right around Labor Day, if you want my opinion. And then Q3 and Q4, if they lower rates, everybody takes their eyes off the election. They're buying houses. Everybody has a low interest rate, but we still don't have a lot of houses for y'all. So my suggestion is don't wait for the Wizard of Oz and Labor Day. Go ahead and reach out to me now and say, Angel, I can get a 7% interest rate. I need you to help me get closing costs so that I can buy it down to 5.9 and then we're good to go. So how do I do that, Angel? And I'm like, let me introduce you to my little friend, and I introduce you to one of my local lenders. So we cannot wait for Jerome Powell to decide or not decide your life. So please feel free to reach out to me. The rates are not going to go higher or lower. They might by a quarter, they might by a half, but certainly not anything that's dramatic. But he's already said, I'm not raising them. I'm not doing it. So he ain't raising them and he ain't lowering them. So you might as well go ahead and get yourself into the real estate market today. Okay, so another thing that has changed and will continue to change as we go forward, I think after July of 2024, this is going to go away. So this part of a home, this is, a home on Via Lugano, 9405 Via Lugano. So blah, 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 all the goodies about a house, who's selling it, one of my colleagues. And then this says commission to sales office. That means me representing you on the buy side, 2.5%. Well, when we were going over that document, that buyer broker agreement, pull that up, it said that my buyer agrees to pay broker as follows, meaning part of the agreement that we're going to be in means that I will work at a minimum of 2.5%. Now, when we go into looking at houses, I'm not going to not show you a house that might have 2%, but you and I, since we entered into this agreement that says that I will not be paid less than 2.5%, you and I will then have to renegotiate our offer from the seller to pay the difference of the 2 to 2.5, or you as the buyer will have to make up that difference. So if we're going to be looking at this other house on 6334 Megaris Avenue in the 1-3, right? Oh, it's a lovely house, Angel. Okay, they're only offering 2% commission to my brokerage on my side, to the broker on representing you as the buyer. That difference will have to be made up by you. Okay, let's keep looking. And oh, there's another house that I like that still has the 2%. Do you see the percentage that's being offered? Like if we go back to this house, this amount is not being paid by you per se, it's being paid by the seller. So this 2.5% is what the seller is saying, okay, I'm willing to pay 2.5% for an agent to bring me a qualified buyer that can get us over the finish line so that I can sell this house by June 30th of 2024. So that's what the seller has said. I'm willing to pay 2.5% for this transaction to go through. Now, this type of an agreement where it says 2%, that puts the burden on you as the buyer, because now that difference, 2 to 2.5, is left for us to either offer to the seller, hey, can you pay 2.5% or pay the 0.5% difference to Angel so she can help me get this house for you and we can still close on June 30th? Or I have to come to you and you and I have to have a conversation and you say, Angel, I'm willing to pay that 0.5% difference because I want you to walk me through this transaction. It's worth it either way. That is the bit that has changed. That is the bit that now the National Association of Realtors says that has to be fully disclosed. We have to have this conversation before we can even go look at a house. We haven't talked about solar transfers. We haven't talked about paying for a septic to be pumped and certified. We haven't talked about the condition of the house. We haven't negotiated repairs. We haven't done anything like that. The very first thing we have to discuss, which is like, who wants to do this first time I meet you? Nonetheless, the very first thing that we have to discuss is my compensation, because like I said, somebody got pissed and they thought that we were not disclosing enough. They wanted to be something that you and I have a conversation about front and center, first thing before we even go look at house number 1. We have to sign the buyer broker agreement. We have to walk through all of this, that I'm working for you, and you can cancel this buyer broker agreement and you can walk through this whole process without a realtor. I will not be able to help you. I will not be able to protect your money. I will not be able to guide you on who to call for your home inspection, who to call for your termite, how to negotiate your offer so that it's written tightly. So now we have to have this conversation about what I'm going to make before we've even gone into house number 1. And it's kind of silly. And that is one of the things that has changed. At the end of the day, not much has changed. When I went through all the things that are still the same, and then I went through the thing that is not the same anymore, it was pretty off balance, right? So everything is pretty much the same with the exception of us signing this buyer broker agreement, which is fine. I mean, I'll do it. I want to work with you. I want you guys to move here, call this place home, be a part of this community. It's worth it to me. It's fine by me. And there are some of you that I had already gone through this process with, and it wasn't a big deal then, and it won't be a big deal going forward. But what you get to know now is, you know, that you could potentially be paying some of my commission, which I would work really, really hard to ask the seller to pay it, because I just don't think that's something that you should be paying. And the lawsuit that we've been talking about, this lawsuit with these people in Missouri, is just getting bigger and bigger. They're settling here and firing up another one over here and settling over here and then firing up another one with different plaintiffs over here. I mean, it's not going away anytime soon, but because I don't want to be in the fray of all of that, and I love what I do and I love helping you guys, I'm absolutely willing to sign this buyer broker agreement. If it's not something you don't want to sign, we're not getting married. We're just signing a contract to work together, which means that you won't go look for a side piece, another realtor, while I'm busting it trying to get us into homes while you're here. It lets me know that you're committed to me just like I'm committed to you. If I need to write your offer in such a way so that you're getting a closing cost help from the seller and then your lender can help that buy down your rate, you better believe I'm going to write your offer nice and tight and clean. You're not going to have to ask the seller for a home warranty because you know I'm taking care of that. Doesn't matter if you have a pool or no pool, or if you're land or acreage, whatever the case may be, I'm taking care of your home warranty on the purchase. And then also the other things that come along with, like what I said before, solar, septic, you know, making sure the title is clear, making sure there's no back taxes that the seller needs to take care of. All of that stuff is my responsibility. That's why you've hired me, to get you to the other side and to get you into 123 Main Street. Yes, some stuff has changed, but not much. And then all of these other great things that I do for you, with you, and as we go through the transaction are 1000% still the same. And I look forward to working with you, and I will see you around town.